Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 449 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada, recorded on Cinco de Mayo 2025. For those of you that don't speak the Espanol, that is May 5th.
Yes. We need your help to support the Canadian Patriot Podcast. Visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. Get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. Show you're not a communist. Buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
That brings us to our favorite segment. What are we drinking? And something that you've done off of the Patriot Challenge. Pierre, what are you drinking?
As per usual, 40 Creek tonight. A little bit of Pepsi, my water. Recently, I was a good communist, and I went and paid with my dollars that were already taxed to confirm that my taxes were done. And so far, so good. Nobody's kicked in the door or put a lien on anything. So I guess that was done right. Did a little Costco business trip around this time of year. We tend to go pick up some ground beef, pork, chicken, all the things. And when we got home as a family, I told the daughter to get in the kitchen, put some gloves on, and take the scale out. So she portioned out all the meat. And I was like, you like eating the foods that we make, so you can help with the chores, So yeah, getting her to, okay, I want, a pound and a half of ground beef, a pound of pork in each Ziplocs and this, that, and then organize the freezer, take the old stuff. We tend to try it. We didn't do it this time, but we'll do it. Next pickup is we tend to put some vacuum seal stuff, stays longer for a year. So put that at the back of the freezer, but we're going to use up the stuff we did that last year. So yeah, just food rotation, trying not to be a degen. That's about it for me. What about you?
I am drinking Signal Hill and Pepsi Zero as per usual. And yes, I had an interesting weekend and all that, but yeah, I did finish reading Mark Carney's book, Values. It's terrible. I don't recommend it. The TLDR on that one is climate change is a thing, and he thinks it's the biggest threat ever, and we all need to focus on that, and he's going to do whatever it takes to get us to net zero. Also, central bank digital currency. So those are the two things we need to worry. I read the book so you don't have to. It's a waste of time. Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, I've been drinking the water, doing the thing, and I had the pleasure of taking my class, my counter custody class, hosted by our buddy Boris, that's been on the show, True North Tradecraft. We brought Ed Calderon up from the United States, originally from Mexico, but now he is an official American citizen legally. But yeah, he came up for the weekend, and we got tied up, and we had to escape.
Yeah.
It was yeah, pretty. I've done a bunch of classes with Ed, and there's like a lot of overlap, but you're always kind of looking at things from different angles, so it's really interesting. I've also done a bunch of classes like this before with Boris and with Ace, who's also been on the show, Delta 2 Apple. I'm wearing Ace's jeans right now. Not necessarily like his jeans, but the jeans that he has designed, because that'd be weird if I was wearing his jeans.
Yeah, well, I mean, better than his underwear.
Yeah, he also has underwear too, so that's super weird. Although they did film a commercial for them at my house. If you've seen it, it's hilarious. Anyways, so yeah, I've done stuff like that before that was a lot more, I will say, technical. You would get tied up in more difficult ways with more layers. But it was always like the lights are on, it's very low stress. They talk you through it all and all of that. So like it's technical, but like you're
not in that high stress pace situation where you can't figure anything out and your nerves aren't at you, right?
Yeah. I mean, you still like get frustrated sometimes, but like yeah, you can like this weekend was not as complex of a thing. Like, I mean, I was handcuffed and zip tied and blindfolded all at the same time. but like it was the experience as a whole was definitely a lot more intense because you're all waiting in the alley outside of the building, and one by one you would be um let in and grabbed immediately by a masked individual. So we were like, this is gonna be really weird if someone like walks by and just sees like one by one people are lined up and getting abducted. It's like what, they didn't see the fucking guy in front of them. But yeah, so you would get dragged into the building. You would be blindfolded and then bound in some manner, and everyone was slightly different. You may or may not have been bound to somebody else. There was all kinds of things going on. The lights are
Yeah.
all off. There's loud, like crazy death metal going on,
Nice.
along with the Macarena on repeat in another room that is also loud. There's like strobe lights in another room. There's like sirens going off, and like the people are yelling at you and all of the things, and you're on your knees against the wall, like with your forehead touching and your hands behind your back bound. You're getting sprayed constantly with Axe body spray. I have showered and washed my hands I don't know how many times, but I still have the smell. And all while this is going on, you're supposed to be like finding whatever tools you have created and smuggled in that haven't been found and taken from you yet to get out of your restraints. So yeah, it was a pretty fun weekend. Definitely different. Practicing the skills, it's important. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice. No crazy injuries.
No,
No crazy bruises.
no, my when I got handcuffed for our viewing audience, you can see this better, but for the listening audience, I will do my best to describe it. I got
Yeah.
handcuffed here above my watch, so above your wrist bone, and it was all the way tight. And so that was not fun, and my wrist is a little tender, but
Yeah.
I've actually had worse last time I did this, even though it was more controlled. It ended up like tweaking a nerve in my hand. And so like
Oh,
the back of my hand was like numb for like 2 or 3 days.
yeah.
So yeah, no,
Everything
I
feels
will,
funny.
yeah, I will call slightly tender wrists, all things considered, pretty good.
Oh,
So
for
yeah, it
sure.
was a fun weekend. We're hoping to have Ed back up. Um, so for those that didn't make it this time, maybe you can get tied up in a not so kinky way shortly, but we will see. We'll definitely announce it on here if and when that is happening. But it was Ed's first time in Canada. Actually, this is the furthest north he had ever been. So
Wow. And
yeah,
that was pretty
we were
much
happy to
Toronto.
have, yeah, we were happy to have him. So
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
yes. We'd love to hear your feedback about the show. So please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Feel free to tell us how you like to get tied up or how you don't like to get tied up. We may or may not read that
Yeah.
and kink shame you on air or not.
Yep. Of course.
Upcoming events, yeah. Resul is coming. I don't have the exact dates right now, but that's coming up. News.
Hmm.
Some
Yes,
interesting
yes,
things,
yes.
yeah. As you
That's not
know,
gonna stop.
yeah, as you know, unfortunately, we did not win the election. Right? We already talked about that last week. And PP didn't win his seat. So, as a result of all of this, the party still has faith in him because he did gain 25 seats and got the highest percentage that they've gotten in years. So, like, it's not that he didn't try, right? Like
Yeah.
he did well, he just didn't do well enough. So they're keeping him
Yeah.
on
That's
as
that's
leader.
good.
Yeah,
Because I was worried about that. I was worried they were just gonna like kick him out and then have to do another thing and then whole other platform. I'm kind of happy that they used their brain a little bit, just being like, look, it didn't work out. I mean, we saw the ballot for his
yeah,
riding, and the handicap he had due to how they changed it, and added a whole bunch of voters that would not benefit from any conservative platform that worked against them. So I am
yeah.
happy there. they kept them, not like they did with O'Toole last time. Like, oh, you lost, get the fuck out,
Yeah, but I mean
So
that was like he lost and like lost, whereas like
yeah,
PP gained from where they were.
yeah,
He just yeah, there was a lot of things working against him, and like realistically, I agree. Like, who the fuck else would they have put in there? Like,
yeah. I
and
mean, to
especially
try and do that, ugh,
yeah, and like with a minority government, potentially there's an election in 18 months, hopefully less, but like, that's there. So if you replace someone, you've got less time to get them ramped up and everything.
yeah,
So as a result, uh, Damian Couric
yeah,
has offered to step down. So a
yeah,
conservative in Alberta, and this guy is like almost at like getting his pension. He was like something like 60 days short or something, like a really short period of time from him getting his pension, so that like if he had stuck around, he would get his pension for life like Jagmeet. But he's like,
yeah,
no, my riding, which is the Battle River Crowfoot riding in Alberta, is apparently one of the safest conservative ridings. He got something like
yeah.
82% of the
80,
vote. And
82.
like, yeah, and like the next closest was the liberal guy with like 11%.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure some way somehow they're gonna make a way to get him to do his thing. But they're also
yeah,
saying that like they could do a by-election, but they got to wait between 11 and 180 days. So let's say they push that off to, a
yeah.
day plus what he needs for his pension before they can do that. Um, I'm curious if,
Yeah,
is he
we'll
out?
see how that all like yeah, if they wait just long enough for him to get his pension, that would be kind of nice because yeah, he's got to
Yeah,
wait 30 days from when the results are officially published in the Gazette.
yeah,
And then like yeah, there's some other bureaucratic nonsense that needs to happen where like he needs to step down and then the Speaker of the House needs to go and present the thing and then they go, okay.
yeah,
Now Carney has, I guess, in advance of all of this, said, don't worry, we're not going to play any stupid games, and we're going to like have things moving forward. And someone's correcting me here, so thank you. 6 months from his pension, so maybe we don't wait 6 months, because that would
oh,
suck. But
yeah,
kudos to this guy for stepping up and doing the right thing.
yeah,
And yeah, hopefully everything moves along smoothly so PP can be back and be in the House and doing what he does best, which is, questioning the government and trying to
yeah.
keep them accountable.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. That
Maybe,
being
maybe
said, though, there's some interesting things that might happen that have already happened. So one of the things that plagued him in the election was like the protest group that ran a shit ton of candidates in his riding so that he had the crazy long ballot.
yeah,
They are trying to get 200 plus names in his new riding. So when the by-election comes up, they want to have a shit ton of other names on there. So this is like if stealing a fucking sign is election interference, this should
yeah.
also be election interference. Like
But
and especially because they're targeting
a
one
single
guy,
individual, yeah, a single individual that,
right?
if he gets voted, I mean, you can not like him, but if you don't live there, if you live there, go vote and change. But if you don't live there, you don't get to, right. Like I should not be able to dictate
Yeah,
anything in your electoral riding. Like that's on you to figure out. I'm
yeah,
responsible for mine. And also, since it's probably a really safe place, they can add 200 names, and everybody's probably still going to look for them.
yeah. But I mean, I
Right.
understand what this
It's
group is
just
trying to do. Like, I agree that like the politicians should not get to decide how our elections go, right? Like that
agreed.
100% on board with that. That like, yes, I agree. There should be like another committee or something that's like independent from the government that decides how the elections are run and all.
Yeah.
100% agree. I think our
Yeah.
system needs to be totally overhauled, and this is part of it. But it's bullshit that they're targeting one person. If they had gone after every leader and
Yep.
done the same thing in all of the things, or in like, let's just make every fucking riding ridiculous, then at least it's like, okay,
It's fair,
yeah.
but
But the
right now
fact
it's
that
very
they're,
targeted.
yeah, which to me makes it election interference.
Yep. But yeah, they want to. Well, I mean, so there you go. It is in this.
Yeah,
It is in this article. I knew I saw it somewhere. But the group
yeah,
was responsible for adding 85 names to the ballot for Carleton,
yeah,
which was Poilievre's riding.
yeah,
There was a total of 91 candidates
yeah,
on that ballot. Like that's like you're splitting hairs here. Like,
yeah. And
right?
now, like, it's
It's
this isn't why he lost. And Chris, the problem is pointing this out. Like, yes, they also did some, you know, shenanigans with his riding and like
yeah,
rejig
added a
the
whole
size of it that added an area that has a bunch of new Canadians and all of that that would be
yeah,
voting against him.
liberal.
But it all combined to not be a good thing. Like, but yeah, you can't do this. Like, I get what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I don't agree with it.
But yeah, like if they're targeting one person over and over and over again, that is absolute bullshit and that is election interference in my mind, and that they should not be able to do this.
100%.
I
Yeah,
also
I don't.
like, yeah, anyone that's doing it as a protest thing like this should not be allowed.
No, go do the legal protest, which is like, get your permit, go don't impede in
Yeah,
anything and argue it. But to add 200 people or 85
yeah.
names to it, I mean, not a guarantee that the election would have been any different if it was
No,
the six
and as people
candidates
are
instead
saying,
of the
yeah, that
91.
well, and as people are
Yeah,
saying, like a bunch of them had no votes, so they didn't even go and vote for themselves. They just got their name on the ballot
yeah,
just to get their name on the ballot. And yes,
yeah,
like nothing, like if I had shown up and I had that ridiculously long ballot, like I guess I just would have taken, 5 minutes to find the fucking name on the thing. But like it wouldn't have deterred me from voting for the person that I
yeah,
was going to vote for. But
exactly.
I'm also not your average Canadian. And so it's entirely possible that like there were a bunch of like low energy individuals that would have easily put their X next to his name if it was easy, or
Yeah,
some people that are just not as bright. Maybe there was, someone with a similar name or whatever, or like older people that just get confused and
yeah,
like
and
it's bullshit
they're
though.
voting for they're voting for liberals, but right, and then you're
Yeah.
splitting votes at that point, just being like, well, let's vote for change, and it's like I'm all up for change,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
this election was not the time to do the change,
Well,
in my
exactly. And
opinion.
like I'm all for peaceful protest, and like I would
Yeah,
say that this is, but like it is also fucking with our democracy at least a little bit, especially when it's directed towards an individual.
yeah, right. So
So
I mean, yeah, specifically that they're going out of their way and saying like, well, we're going to add 200 people because you're
yeah,
going there, right? If you would
yeah,
have went, let's say Saskatchewan, like anywhere else where someone else
yeah,
decided to step down, are they going to do the same? Like, seems very targeted and
yeah,
doesn't. I don't know. I guess it's obviously
yeah.
legal because they're doing it, but I don't agree with it. I don't think it
But
should be
then,
legal.
but yeah, why did they not do this in Mark Carney's riding? Why did they not do this in Jagmeet Singh's riding? Why did they not do this in Elizabeth May's riding?
And everybody's
Right?
writing,
If they
right? Like,
targeted the
yeah,
leaders of the party at least, then it's not any one party that's being targeted, and it's even. But as we know, that's not, you know,
and who's going to report that, right?
yeah. So it's just dumb. I don't think they should be able to do it. But speaking of Mark Carney and stupid things, he's off to go visit Trump in the White House.
So,
So I guess all of those phone calls that happened in advance, even the ones that he kind of lied about how they were going, uh, he is on his way there. Trump apparently is not sure what Carney wants to talk about, as he said. He says, not sure what he wants to see me about. Maybe he wants to make a deal. Everybody wants to make a deal, you know. So
sounds good. Hopefully, it's a deal that doesn't fuck us,
yeah. So
right?
apparently, Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly, International Trade and Intergovernmental Affairs Minister Dominic LeBlanc, and Minister of Public Safety David McGuinty will all be going on this trip, apparently, to, I guess, talk about the tariffs and all of this
Trade and
nonsense. And yeah, reopen the NAFTA or whatever they call it now and discuss it. Um, I don't think we're gonna get like a better deal than we got last time, and we already got fucked hard over on this the last time because the lady that was in charge of the thing was too busy at an anti-Trump protest to go to the meeting to do the
to do the
agreement.
thing with
And
with
yeah,
Trump.
so yeah, we
Yeah,
weren't there last time, and Trump is already complaining that the deal isn't good enough for him now, and we weren't even there to argue in our favor, so it's certainly not going to get
yeah,
better.
yeah.
Um, it is kind of funny though that he's just like, "Yeah, I don't know what this guy wants to talk about."
Yeah, I know it's kind of like it's. I mean, I'm not saying you should talk down to someone or anything, but it is kind of comical
Yeah,
that
it
he's just like,
is.
yeah, I don't know why he's coming here. Like, you know
Yeah,
why? Because but yeah, it's just funny. But
yeah.
also, it is what it is. I can't predict what he does in his country and what he decides for his people. But I'm just hoping we go down there with a backbone because we do have quite a bit to offer. Excuse me, quite a bit we could do in quote unquote retaliations.
Yeah.
They depend on us quite a bit, just as much as we do, if not more, sometimes, depending on what you want to talk about. And
Well, yeah,
yeah, but
I
we
definitely,
just don't have a
yeah.
backbone.
Well, but this is part of the problem though, is like, I mean, and you get this guy Carney that gets up and like, he's trying to act tough during the election to kind of get the votes, but then like this guy is like, he's gone and had fancy dinners at like Buckingham Palace and stuff like that, like with Trump's son-in-law. And so like there's weird connections between Trump and Brookfield and Carney, and then there's all of this dick measuring contest going on at the same time. Like it's such a weird thing. And so I kind of agree here with the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, who said that making a deal with Canada is really complex. And I think that some of the things that we as a nation, mostly the Liberal Party, like shit talking Trump,
Yeah,
over the last 10 years has soured
yeah,
that. And especially with Carney getting up during the election run and going like, the relationship we have is over. Everything has changed. And like, yes, things have
yeah. But
changed, but like, potentially like Trump will be gone in 4 years. I hope the liberals are gone before then, but
before that,
potentially
and we,
they could be around a
yep,
lot longer because of how our system works. So,
yeah,
like, don't fuck up relationships that have been long standing between nations over something that is stupid and temporary.
yep,
Like, yes, we need a better deal and everything needs to be fair, and we can certainly work on things. And like, I do think that Trump is being a little ridiculous, maybe a lot ridiculous with some of the
yeah.
stuff that he's doing. But the way that we're responding to it is
Not any
equally
better.
as
Worse.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not benefiting us, it's hindering us. So, I mean, I guess one of the things here that he's done recently is apparently now 100% tariff on foreign made films.
Yeah.
And
I saw that and I laughed.
yeah, so but now it looks like they're flip-flopping on that, and who knows what's gonna happen. Like, and this is the nonsense going back and forth, but like, I don't know. Hopefully they can sort it out. I don't have a whole lot of faith in any of the people that we are sending.
No, but also they could take a thing out of the Canadian playbook where if someone just is American in it, it qualifies as Canadian music, right? Just like for us,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah, like the writer is, like the band members
Well,
aren't, the producer isn't, but like
well,
someone is Canadian, so it's considered Canadian.
yeah, and that's what they've kind of pointed out as well, is that like these aren't like Canadian movies. It's like Hollywood movies, American movies that just
Yeah,
like
go somewhere to shoot.
they're happen to be filming parts of it or all of it in other countries. Like, but it's still a Hollywood fucking movie. So ultimately, all
Yeah,
that money from making the movie
still
comes
stays in the U.S.
back to the US. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So
well,
yeah, it's I don't I don't agree with it, but yeah, it's just
yeah.
it's silly.
Yeah. More visits from people that don't matter. Um,
Yeah.
King Charles is set to visit Canada, and instead of the Prime Minister and the Governor General and all that doing the throne speech to open the new parliament, King Charles himself will be delivering the throne speech, which apparently is the first time that this has happened since, what was it, 77 or something like that?
Uh, Sounds about right
Yeah,
from the article.
first time since 1977.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess we like to think that we are a sovereign nation, yet here we are with the monarchy from another country that could come over and deliver the throne speech, as is their right to do so.
But I mean, I guess like technically we're still under quotations
Yeah.
British rule, which is useless. But I mean, it is a throne speech, so
Yeah.
it makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's not costing us hopefully a bunch of tax dollars, so he can do whatever.
Oh, I'm sure it will cost. I mean, the Brits will be paying his flight over here and for all of his
Security, I'm
staff and all of
assuming.
that. Well,
Yeah,
we
we might.
probably provide something, security and this and that. So I'm sure it will cost us a bunch of money.
Yeah,
Um, so I guess, his pre-election visit to Charles is paid off now that Charles is coming back, and Charles's subtle hints that Canada is still part of the empire by wearing his Canadian medals in some recent visits or some nonsense, and like planting a maple tree on the lawn rather than coming right out and saying things.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's all kind of ridiculous, but whatever.
It's just a dog and pony show, and everybody's gonna think, it's
Yeah,
such a big thing. Like, oh, the king came to do something, and I'm just like, okay, cool. Just like when the Queen visited, you know, Canada on what was it, the 150th.
yeah.
It just like it's a dog and pony show. I don't get it. I could care less if he fucking stays over there.
Oh yeah,
He croaks on the way over, or he comes here and delivers a speech. Probably
yeah,
not really gonna pay attention to it because it's just gonna anger me. Um, it's just yeah, it's
yeah.
the dog and pony shows are just getting annoying.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, like I kind of reference here, even there's a quote in here. Mark Carney ran his campaign on a large anti-Trump platform and reiterated that Canada will always remain sovereign, independent, and free. Having
Under
Charles
British rule.
assume his place at the center of our parliament
Yeah.
institution is a clear signal of Canada's unique political and national identity compared to our neighbors to the south. So, are we really free and independent when the monarchy from another country gets to come and open our parliament? Not that he has to, but he can if he wants to. And it is called the throne speech because the
It's
king sits on a throne and he is the king of Canada, whether we have a
yep.
prime minister or not. So,
Yeah. So yeah, funny saying, "Hey, we're free and independent, but you're still under my thumb," is what this sounds like.
yeah. I mean, who do you think gave the designation of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police the royal designation, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would have just been the Canadian Mounted Police,
Yeah.
which they were until they got the royal designation from the royal family.
Yep. And now we just refer to them as that RCMP.
Yes,
Yeah.
or the horse
But
police.
yep.
Yeah. But I don't know. Yes, the last time was Queen
77.
Elizabeth
Yeah.
in 1977. So, I mean, it's kind of a neat thing, but also it's
It's I mean, I find it kind of neat, but if you're gonna call it the throne speech, make a giant effort to come every time it needs to be done,
well,
especially
yeah.
if you're our overlord. Like,
I think it was just that like so like you know the Queen did it way back then, and then she kind of just like got old and like, are we gonna
yeah,
really do this like every time they open Parliament, or like when there's a switch of like an actual switch of government, like and it's not just the same guy winning like three
yeah,
elections in a row?
yeah, I'd be
And
down
then
for
she
that.
got too old, and like he's probably only coming to do this because like I mean he's probably gonna be dead soon, let's be honest, right? Like he's got
Yeah,
cancer and all that. And like it was even shocking that he became king to begin with.
yeah,
So it's probably the like, well, I better do this because this is my only chance that I might get to do this. So fuck it, I'm going.
yeah. Right. And then they can talk about it, saying like, look, even though he was only there for a little bit, he did do this. And yeah,
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
yeah.
Um, some more exciting news though.
Yes, good news.
Yes. Alberta Premier promises separation referendum in 2026 if petition signatures warrant. So Alberta recently had some things where they rejigged some stuff to reduce the numbers of signatures and everything required to, in order to do all of this stuff to make it easier. They still have to go through the whole process and do all of the
Yeah,
things, right? And there's a lot of people that are talking about this now because this is becoming more and more of a possibility.
yeah. And they extended the time.
Yeah,
So it used to be in 90 days to
yeah,
complete, get all the answers, whatever. They extended it to 120,
yeah.
and
They
they only
need
need 177 signatures or 177,000
177,000. Yeah,
instead of, I believe it was 600,000.
yeah, some ridiculous
From
number.
yeah, it was something crazy. So
Yeah, and there's a lot of people are saying that, oh, well, like anyone can veto this. So like the agreements that we have with the natives, they could veto this and squash this. It's like, no, they can't do that.
no,
Nor can the provincial government, nor can like the federal government. If the people vote for this, they have to
nope,
get together and talk about it,
yep,
which is kind of a neat thing. So it's becoming a more of a possibility because I mean, yeah, if you look at the the election results, I mean, there were some red or orange pockets, but it would be like one or two ridings that are in the city, and
yeah,
then the rest of the province was blue.
yeah. And I mean, 177,000. I got a feeling they could probably do that in a few ridings compared to
Yeah.
province wide.
Oh, exactly. And like, and the problem saying is like, yeah, Alberta needs to stop giving, all those
Transfer
transfer
payments.
payments and everything to
Yeah,
Quebec. But also, even if you look at like the size of a riding in Alberta versus the size of a riding in Atlantic
no,
Canada. Like it's almost like 2 to 1.
yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah, I remember seeing that the riding size and people or
yeah,
whatever,
the
they
other
were at a
provinces
55.
are closer.
Yeah,
And like, I don't know. If this is all done fairly, and I get why they did it because like they didn't the rest of the country to be able to overpower the Maritimes and be like, fuck you, we don't care about fishing rights. Like, go fuck yourself. But
yeah,
they're like, no, 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 we need to do this. But like, there are other ways to skin that cat, probably, rather than like giving their votes more weight, right? Like, if
yeah,
they've got more ridings over there, they dictate more, they have more power, and that's not really fair. It needs to be
right.
done evenly. Like,
Yep.
every
More, yep.
riding should have, like, there should be like a cap, right? Like, when you get to this size, we split the riding.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But
it's like,
like,
let's use just 50,000. So
yeah,
50,000 representatives vote someone, not you get 50,000 and you get 500,000,
yeah,
right? Just
but
because of where you are, location, geographics,
yeah.
right? Rural, farming land or big
Yeah,
mountains between cities compared
like
to,
it's never going to be perfect because cities are
no,
constantly growing and shrinking and all of that,
yep,
right? As people like move and as we continue to import more and more and more and more and more people. right? Like we had more ridings in this election than we did in the last one because our
Yeah.
population grew.
Yeah.
It makes sense. But the disparity between them shouldn't be that it is almost 2 to 1 and giving a certain part of the country more pull than
Yeah.
any other part of the country, aside from
Yeah.
like this is where the bulk of the people live. So maybe
Yeah.
they can, like,
Yeah. But just because you live with more neighbors than someone else does not mean that your vote should not count.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
or your vote should mean less in how
Yeah.
everything is protected, right? And I'm not saying we need 800 politicians, right?
No,
Like
but at
if you
least it
start
should
doing a number
be
like that, but yeah, there needs to be a way of
yeah,
balancing it out somehow.
riding sizes need to be more comparable to one another, and the disparity
Yeah,
between them should never be that great. And yes, Alberta should absolutely stop paying for other provinces' bullshit.
yeah.
If other
If Alberta
provinces want
just cut out,
to vote dumb shit, then they can pay for it provincially.
yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? I think it was. I was remember hearing someone did a at least analysis from what they could see that if Alberta cut out all the taxes, provincial taxes, and gave the
Yeah.
tax breaks for like a year or two, like the Canadian economy would pretty much collapse because Quebec is in such deficit and so dependent on it. They
Yeah.
were just like, yeah, they were just like, hey, if you're gonna grow a business here and you're doing business here, you don't have to pay corporate taxes. It's just to not have that surplus of money and be like, hey, sorry, we broke even this year, or hey, we actually ran less. Like, who's paying us now?
Yeah.
Yeah, they would pretty much crash. Maybe not crash the economy, but
Yeah.
I know for sure that Quebec would be royally they wouldn't have any cheese curds for their poutines. That's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. But
So
yes, Danielle Smith is on record saying that this isn't a result of her preferred candidate not winning, but it's that the same liberal government, with almost all the same ministers responsible for our nation's inflation, housing, crime, and budget crisis, and that oversaw the attack on our provincial economy for the past 10 years. So Alberta has been stifled by like no pipelines, no minerals,
yeah,
no this, to that, and everything. So they have been returned to power. So that's what it is. So it's not necessarily that PP didn't win, it's that the same retards that were in
yeah,
power are now continuing to be in power. And why would anything change? Which is what we have all been saying.
yeah. And I think that's Alberta is one of the only or the best province strategically and just
Yeah,
economically in the whole country to be way more self-efficient than anybody else.
yeah,
Their forestry,
absolutely.
like all the natural resources that are there. And if they're
Yep,
smart and they don't rush it, right? Like, okay, we need to get the oil and the gas out, natural gas
yep,
and everything. Be smart, do the proper things, don't cut corners.
yeah.
They would could be way better self-efficient than
Oh,
Quebec, Ontario. Like, oh, I'm
absolutely, a
willing to
hundred
bet they're at
percent.
the top,
A
right?
hundred
I'm willing to
percent.
bet.
They
So,
they can fend for themselves just fine
yeah,
and pay for all the things. I mean, obviously there's some things that need to get restructured, right? So just like when Quebec said that they wanted to leave, and it's like, okay, but like, yeah, so like all those federal buildings, like you're gonna have to buy those from the federal government. So the military
yeah,
bases, all of this, like you need to do that.
yeah,
They would have the money to do it,
yeah. Where Quebec would be
right?
like, well, just like don't give us next year's transfer payment. Like we're
Yeah.
separate, but we still want that, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly,
and
right?
do they want to
So,
keep the currency, but they want to be
yeah.
independent, or and do you need a passport now to drive through there, to go visit there, land there?
Yeah.
There's all these things, but I'm just saying at the end of the day, they would at least be able to be
Oh,
like, okay, let's
they'd be
let's make a payment
absolutely.
plan. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's make a payment plan. Like, hey, look, you're not going to get paid right now, but let's make a payment plan, and they would
Oh,
definitely be able to uphold
yeah.
it way better than any province in
Oh,
this country.
absolutely, yeah. And some of the other things people are worried about, well, what about all of like the treaties and this and that? So like if they were to separate, what would happen is that like the Alberta government would assume Canada's role in all of those treaties that were signed. So instead of the different bands or whatever that had a treaty for this and that, and that they get like X number of, boxes of ammo and animal skins like every year at like Christmas or whatever they agreed to, right? Because some of
Yeah,
those treaties are pretty wild.
yeah,
The Alberta government would assume the role of the crown and continue on with those
And
treaties. And if they so wanted to negotiate differently, they could do that now that they
but
hold that, but it would all get passed over. So it's not like all of a sudden all of those things would become null and void and just
yeah,
like,
yeah, it's not like you sign the dotted line and like now there's no such thing as a reserve in Alberta.
yeah,
That's probably all going to get worked in,
yeah.
from what
But
I can tell. At
this
least
is
they
absolutely
seem,
where like a lot of native people want the Indian Act, as they call it, to go away. They don't want it.
yeah, no, they
So
have
this would
issues
be a
with it.
chance for at least the people in Alberta or whoever is part of this Wexit, if it's Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, or a combination, this would be their ability to renegotiate that and say, we don't
Yeah,
want this anymore. Let's make this
maybe,
go away.
yeah, maybe Alberta could actually get them clean drinking water
Yeah.
because that was a promise, what, 10 years ago?
I
Still
mean, if
hasn't
they
happened.
took all that money that's going to transfer payments into making clean drinking water, I'm sure they could pay that off in no time and still
Right?
have money
So
left over.
yeah, so it's up for that, right? Like and
Yeah.
at least from what I can tell, I don't think Alberta would just be like, "Hey, go fuck yourself. I'm the boss now."
Well,
Um,
exactly, right?
at least not from what I can tell. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
guarantees on it, but I have a feeling they would be like, "Okay, well, are we just keeping it as is?"
Yeah.
Maybe they have an issue with it. Do you guys have an issue with it? I have a feeling they would be open to renegotiating all of it and all that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm keeping a very close eye on it. I might actually pay attention to the news more than just Monday nights. Just
Yeah.
on that, just to see how everything is, and you know, put my ear to the
Yeah.
ground like the the reserves do to see if there's a train coming.
Yeah.
And yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So this is a throwback. Some interesting new stuff has come out about a thing that happened quite a while ago. So I'm sure most people remember the Danforth shooter, right? So the guy
Uh,
in Toronto that went through the Greek neighborhood, shot a few people was this during
was it great?
COVID?
Yeah, yeah, 2, 3 years ago.
Something like that, maybe a little bit longer ago.
Oh, I gotta subscribe to read this one.
Yeah, I
No,
know.
yeah, yeah, no, I remember this one. Yeah, or I
Yeah,
remember what you're talking about. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, there
right.
was
So like
someone
he
that just
went
went
and then
postal.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we talked about this before. So he had a brother.
Mm.
The brother was in prison for distribution of not fentanyl, but carfentanil,
Which is worse.
like super fentanyl, right?
Yeah,
So like like if this much fentanyl kills this many people, carfentanil is like 10 times stronger.
yeah,
So bad. So they like caught this guy with like, and the problem is interning for us. So 2018. Um, so this is all stuff that we knew back then that this happened, right? And that this guy's had a brother and that the brother had the giant stash of carfentanil, like enough to kill like the entire population of Ontario if it got into the drinking water or something crazy like that. So it's now
yeah.
come out that a former top American DEA official has told everyone that like there was a connection here to terrorism and all of this stuff with this guy, and the Canadian government just ignored it.
Yeah. They
So we
blocked it.
actually blocked the DEA's request to investigate.
Yeah, which is a
Yeah,
big thing now because of the U.S. and other countries that it's harder to get into the U.S. and almost every other border
yeah,
except for ours. That we actually have. Canada is actually producing quite a big, quite a giant amount of the drugs that are in the U.S. and then they're already here. And yes, they're coming from other countries. People are coming here. All the
yeah,
the whole drug
yeah.
chain. But production houses or labs are in Canada, and they're getting dispatched
Yeah,
across the world. So
and yeah, they're saying that they 42 kilograms of this stuff. Like That's a lot of fucking drugs.
Yeah, especially like the Superman of drugs.
Yeah, right?
Like fuck,
Like,
I gotta go. You said what, 42?
yeah, 42 kilograms. So 88 pounds, quick math, 2.2 pounds per kilogram, right? Something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
2.2.
Yeah. So like this is a lot of fucking carfentanil that this guy got caught with, right? And then you look at all of the connections to all of the terrorism and like oddly enough, as we've said before, there were some connections to China that we're kind of ignoring as well. But yeah, they actually wanted to like investigate this so that they connect the dots even further and maybe go after the people. But the Canadian government was like, nah, we're gonna just like totally forget about this and the potential links of terrorism and everything else to this thing. Because then it might tie the shooting to all of those things as well, and not just like the two brothers are just like both shitbags, but like independently shitbags, right?
Yeah, hold on. So I'm doing a quick thing. So we did. I was like, hey, how much is 42 kilograms? How many could it kill? Found an article that says, excuse me, an overdose can occur on 2 milligrams carfentanil.
Of yeah.
So
So
now I'm looking at how many,
how many
how much is,
milligrams are in? Yeah,
yeah,
a
yeah, like,
lot.
convert whatever. So, kilograms to milligrams. So, say perfect world, right? Not
Yeah,
people with anything. If it takes that's 47 million people killed.
yeah, yeah,
Like, right? We're not talking about just some
yeah.
guy with standing on a corner, selling some
Right,
weed
like
to
that, and
high
like
school kids.
well, and like just what is the cost of 42 kilograms of carfentanil? Millions of dollars. Like, where does some
Yeah.
random right? Like if these two guys, like
Well, it's
if they're brothers and they're not connected in a sort of a business way, then it
yeah.
becomes even more ridiculous. So that you now have this one brother that somehow was able to amass enough money to purchase 42 kilograms of carfentanil.
Yeah, or was it a point that he
Like,
got everything and figured out how to make it? Like, I don't know what the cost association is,
yeah,
right? Like, like we all know, like, when you used
then
to
I
buy
believe
weed
the
in high school, oh,
yeah,
this stuff's worth 200, but this stuff's worth like 150, and it was like, bro, you just water it, and like,
yeah.
there's barely any cost association to growing it. I don't know what it is to make a kilogram of carfentanil, right? And
Yeah.
I don't think I should Google, how easy is it to make or how much does it
I can't
cost to make a
imagine that
kilo of
it's
it?
I can't imagine that this is the kind of thing that you make. Like it's not meth, right? Like you can't make this in like an RV in the woods. Like this is
Yeah,
gonna
I mean,
require a lot more sophisticated technology to make, right? Like you need a proper lab probably. So like he's
yeah,
buying it from somewhere and that's a
yeah,
shit ton of money involved. And then if
yeah,
I'm recalling correctly, because this is a while ago now, he also got busted with something ridiculous like uh, double
wasn't it cocaine?
digits, no, double digits of identical handguns. So it's something like 20 40 cal handguns.
Yeah, and I
Like,
think they ended up tracing a bunch of them and they didn't know where
yeah,
they came from.
yeah, and
Like they
they
were
were
ghost
all,
guns,
yeah,
but
they were
they
all
were ghosts.
stolen from somewhere.
Yeah, yeah,
And then, like, coincidentally, the same like type of gun that the one guy had like a double digit numbers of is the one that the brother used in the
used.
shooting. But these
Yeah,
two shitbags are totally unrelated, despite the fact that, they're related by blood, right? Like that's what basically the government was saying to us.
yeah,
And now it's coming out all these years later that like it wasn't just a national problem, but an international problem
yeah,
that we were told about, and we've decided to not do anything about it.
yeah. And I'm also gonna say that if someone, say for example in this one, DEA just says like, hey, we want to look into something, um, I'm not saying we should just let it them do and we should do whatever there. But if you bring strong enough evidence, which they obviously had, then take it
Yeah.
from a legality point of view. But like, these should be taken very seriously, in my opinion. And
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
there should be some due diligence of like, no, just like, the cops can't just kick my
absolutely.
door in because they think I did something. They need to get something. They need to get a
Yeah.
warrant. Like, let's follow
But
the exact same guidelines for
but this
international incidents like
but
this.
this is exactly here we are. We have our like this whole fucking tariff thing between us and the US
Yeah.
is because we're not like policing our borders enough and that all the drugs apparently are flowing. And like I don't think that I'm sure there's some,
I don't
but
think it's all, but I have heard it's
I,
a
I'm
lot
sure
more than it used to be.
yes. I still think the bulk of them are coming in to the US directly from China and other places in the world.
Yeah.
The wildest thing that I heard though this weekend is that like now uh weed is being smuggled from San Diego into Mexico, not the other way around because of all of the
Really?
legal weed growing in California. But anyways, I still think that the bulk, especially of like fentanyl, carfentanil, is coming from China into the US. Not that some of it is not coming from Canada down. I do
Yeah.
think that that is definitely happening. I know for sure that illegal guns are coming up from the US
Oh,
into Canada. But
like
here
way
we are
more.
having this whole argument about border security. And then this is exactly what should like they
Yeah.
found out about a thing. They notified our law enforcement professionals. They should have started working together to solve this problem,
Yeah,
except they
or at
didn't.
least yeah, or at least like, hey, okay, well, you gave us some info. Let us do
Yeah.
a little bit of digging, and then we'll get back to you and say like,
Yeah.
you know, hey, from what
Hey,
we can tell, you're wrong, or yeah, come on
yeah,
in.
like
We
thanks
need your
for the
help.
heads
Like,
up. Like,
yeah,
giving
something.
them something back. Like, even if it's not like, hey, yes, let's like you come up here and help us on it, like at least continue sharing notes back and
Yeah.
forth or
And then
something. And
because those notes are there, can't you like,
yeah.
now it becomes an
Yeah.
international thing where
Because it,
in all the courts up here as well as down there
yeah,
becomes like way
well,
more of a thing.
it becomes a lot easier to start levying, like, in the States they call it RICO, and up here we call it something else that I don't know what the name is, or like
Yeah.
doing ties of like, this isn't just like local crime, it's not even national crime, it's
Yeah.
international crime, and we can start
Yeah.
levying more charges and put more resources towards it. So, like, yeah, even if
Yeah.
they
And
don't
then
physically come up here to help, like
yeah.
sending emails back and forth to keep each other in the loop. Like, we
Yeah.
already do this on a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. Which is
Like,
probably not as serious as this.
yeah. Well,
I'm
or
willing to bet, right?
well, yeah. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna name names, but we have a mutual friend that like does some stuff, and he's gone international to help
Yep.
with things because like they find a thing here, and so like
Yep.
part of the crime is committed here, but the person's in the States or vice versa.
Yeah. Where yeah,
And
now
this
it
is
becomes an
only at like
international thing.
the provincial level of law enforcement. And
Hmm.
here you are having like a national level law enforcement in the US talking to national level law enforcement in Canada.
Yeah.
And we're just like, nah, forget it.
Right.
We're not going to
And
do
it's all,
this.
I mean, we could also go down the rabbit hole of that said person we were just talking about that gets way more excited when they don't get in trouble in this
Yeah.
country because of our
Yeah.
laws. So maybe we need to rethink those as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just
But that's
insane.
that's a
Like,
whole yeah.
we we should have been working with them on this. Like,
Uh,
because we're already working with them on other things. Why did we not work on this? Unless there was some reason to cover up the ties of all of this, because I mean, this was definitely politicized. Like, this
yeah,
was
like
definitely
this
used
was
by the liberal government as a reason for the gun bans that were enacted and
yep,
everything else. And it's
yep,
like, okay, well, but if this was an act of terrorism, maybe
yeah,
we should have been given these facts before we used it to
yeah,
like
like
justify anything else.
right, like the handgun freeze,
Yeah,
probably part of this, right? Like
absolutely. They
that
continue to
that
reference this.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and like I'm like, okay, well that gun wasn't legal to be in Canada because
Yeah. And
technically
yeah.
it wasn't imported here, right? So like
Yeah.
Cabela's doesn't just get guns and do whatever. They have
Yeah.
import paperwork that goes with it. It's all serialized, it's all traceable, and then they got to call the RCMP, and then you got to go in and pay, what is it, 90% or is it 70 of a
Yeah.
restricted? Yeah, it's something, right? So you put like a deposit down at the gun store, and then the gun store does the paperwork and sends an email or whatever to the RCMP, and then eventually the RCMP approves it, and then they call you and they say you can come pay for the rest of it, and then you can take it home.
Yeah.
And that takes, what was your longest wait time for a restricted?
Fuck, months.
Yeah,
Like
like
it was during COVID though, till like everything slowed down. But I think I
all
waited.
right, well, let's take the COVID numbers out of it. But what was let's say pre-COVID, you wanted to buy a restricted weapon. What was your average wait time? Was it
Couple weeks, couple
right? So
weeks.
it
But like
wasn't hours.
during COVID, it went to like 6 months. It
Yeah,
was insane.
like we have someone that does another podcast, and he waited over a year to get his gun license, and he
Yeah.
has not a security clearance, but he has like just below a security clearance because of what he does for work, that he has to like transport stuff and potentially get onto certain properties. So
Yeah.
I guess just like a above a background check, but not a security clearance. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you're clean as a whistle. And I'm like, it still took over a year for them to like check it off,
Yeah.
where yeah, so it's like we have all this info and
Yeah.
the misinformation that's out there, right? Like nobody
Yeah.
understands that uh the law is required to transfer a restricted firearm in this
Yeah.
country. Like you could drive to my house because there's a competition around the corner
Yeah.
because we're in the same province. But after that competition, you can't like we can't go like 20 kilometers the other way and go drinking at the bar before securing those firearms
Exactly. And that's the
properly,
crazy thing
right?
about
And
it. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah,
Yeah.
right.
But
And it
thankfully,
was
reasonably direct is a vague term that can be used in our favor, but will likely never be used in our favor and always against us. But
yeah,
at
yeah,
least we
right.
can
And
argue a little bit about that one. But yeah, it's always crazy.
yeah, and yeah,
But yeah, we should have done something about this. Like I get that it's like too late now, but we should have done it at the time. But I have some good news here.
mm,
So a Geordie Howe, not to be confused with Gordie Howe, but Geordie Howe is an archaeologist for the Vancouver Park Board. So they were digging around recently at the Vancouver Fairgrounds, or the PNE Fairgrounds, as they are known,
yeah,
and they found a bunch of World War I machine guns and cannons and shit from the 1870s.
yeah, that's cool as shit.
Yeah, so they're just
Like
digging
it's
around, and somehow these things were just like buried in the earth under the
yeah,
park.
yeah, and I mean, okay, it makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
but like that's cool, and it doesn't
yeah,
look like they got blocked and hit with anything and doing jail time, but like it's obviously in Canada. Fuck, for all
yeah,
we know, it's not even Canadian. Like, look it up.
yeah,
Like, it's a cool part of history. You can't forget
yeah.
about it.
Well,
It
it's just
it
such
is
a
cool.
weird like
Yeah, weird spot that like nobody's figured this out
someone
yet.
was just like buried them there and that was it. Like
Uh,
it's like Jesus, I have seen what you have done for others, and I ask that you do the same for me. Can
right?
I
I
please
got it.
just go digging somewhere and find a bunch of like I get it. They'll be old. They will probably need some work because they've been just buried in the dirt. But also,
I don't even care if they work, just the history behind it. Like
well,
to
yeah,
be able
just
to,
being able to put one of
I
those
mean,
cannons on your front lawn, like that'd be baller as fuck.
yeah, like yeah, I don't care who you are. Like I guarantee you a liberal's not gonna knock on my door and say like, you want to
Yeah.
vote for me? Like
Yeah.
I mean, like
They might, but
I
like
live somewhere
unlikely,
where
yeah.
it's pretty much yeah, but I where I live is mostly conservative, so
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about it. But just like
It's just yeah, it's just fucking cool that they found the like it's sad that they got buried in the dirt to begin with because they look like they're in pretty rough shape.
mm,
It will need a lot of
I,
restoration, but I'm
but
glad that
even
they were found so that they can now put them in a museum, do something with them.
yeah, like right, like when we went up to a shooting competition, not last year, I think the year
Yeah.
before, and Yeah, so you can go on the boarding base for free,
Yep.
right? Go to the museum. We did a weekend out of it, right? I took the Sunday and Monday off, so we drove up Friday, avoided a bunch of traffic. Competition was until Sunday morning. Well, you can go to the base and walk around and see where we're one tanks, AK like guns from World War I people that use it in
Yeah.
Canada, as well as every other country or whatever, and it's all free. Just sign the book, and it was like, well, my daughter, like, yeah, cool, go see. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
she knows we have guns. We've got that youth rascal 20 single shot 22 for her that's locked in our safe, right? Not hanging on
Yep.
her wall yet, but just it needs to be something. And even and now I hope, like, I'm not nerdy enough for this, but someone like, okay, well, why was it here? Was there a base around? Can we do
Yep.
some back tracing? Like, hey, is there another like
What?
weird
So
sketchy memo you can find somewhere
yeah.
that, like, 400 feet that way there's a whole bunch of other guns? Like, it's part of history. We need to
Yeah.
not be ashamed of it.
And so I'm going through the thing here. There's a news clipping that they show in the little video here in the show notes, but they received so from Ottawa that 1.77 German gun and 4 German machine guns were shipped to South Vancouver as war trophies on August 6th.
Like, I don't blame them, man. That's cool as shit.
Yeah, and then
Like,
once
if I
that they
was in World War
arrived, yeah,
II, I would want to bring home a fucking Luger,
yeah,
like 100%, right?
yeah.
Like,
And so yeah,
yeah,
they
it's
arrived and they were placed on display at the municipal hall grounds. And then
somehow ended up in this fucking hole. Like, how do we
yeah,
not
at
have
some
any
point,
traceability on that?
yeah, at some point they were buried for some reason.
Yeah, but
But that's fucking cool as shit.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And hopefully there's a way of getting someone to maybe not get it
Yeah.
in working order, but there's enough out there and someone with the
Yeah.
tism to do the best they can and do some woodworking and this and that and everything, and rebuild the wheel, because, like, there's a circle, but I got a feeling those spokes that were wood is gone. So
Yeah.
someone can
Yeah.
bring it as best as what it would have
Yeah.
been to then, and yeah, like,
Put
teach
them on
people, just be
display
like,
somewhere. Yeah.
yeah,
This is history,
it's
man. Like, and
yeah,
that's one of the things that I love, man, about like, for the listening audience, you can see there's a gun rack behind me here.
yeah,
And there's a couple of surplus items in there. And
yeah,
that's living history. Like I can go out to the range with most of those still legally and experience that. Like these were actual weapons of war, even
yeah,
though a lot of them are bolt guns. And I can
yeah,
go out and shoot these things and experience something that not just is like a reenactment, like, but this was held by somebody at that point
yeah.
in time.
And
Like,
and the only thing I wish that could be cooler than that is we had a better registry on serial numbers and stuff like that. Like, how
yeah,
cool would it be to, like, trace it back to? I mean, I would hate to say, like, yeah, I bought something for $600 and then, like, do all the paperwork and everything and, like, bring it to someone and just be like, yeah, your great
yeah,
grandfather that never made it back, like, this was
yeah.
his, this is what he did, and this was
Well,
the sacrifice he did, and, like,
and that's one of the
hey,
neat
you're
things about like the
like, oh,
Swiss, right? Like the
yeah,
Swiss, where you
fuck,
have families that like, because all the males are required to go and do military service and have been for many
many
generations,
years, yeah,
right? So you will go to find some of these Swiss families because you get to keep that rifle and take it home when you're done.
yeah.
They
So,
have
like,
a safe where they will have not just like their rifle, but their father, their grandfather, their great grandfather. So they will have these there.
yeah,
So like it's the same thing. Like it may have never been used in war, but
no,
this
but
is your grandfather's rifle. This is your
that,
great grandfather's rifle. Like they use this. This is theirs. It is passed
that,
on to you now. And
that,
here is your Swiss Arms because it's a cool ass fucking rifle.
oh fuck, it's so cool,
Right?
right? But, like, you can also see that crazy evolution of generation to
Yeah.
generation, right? Like, a 303 British, right?
Yeah,
Like, fuck, that thing was handed out like
yeah.
whatever, and now people are like, man, like it's not that great of a gun compared to the technology we have now, but
But
just
at the time, it was
at
pretty
that was a
fucking
cat's
cool.
meow. Yeah,
Yeah, it was a
yeah, it was a
10
cat's meow.
round gun. Like
Yeah, it was bolts. It
I,
wasn't semi-auto. You couldn't do full auto, but like
although
or
they were conversion kits that turned them into semi-autos
uh, during that time or came
after the
out way
fact.
after. Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why
So
there's the weird like
yeah,
exemption for Lee Enfield magazines and all of this.
yeah.
But like, yeah, there were people that turned Lee Enfields into semi-autos, which I guess those would still be illegal. It might be something to look into. But yeah, they're cool. Like
We don't talk about that live.
I I'm glad I have one. Like I have one that
Yeah.
was made at the factory, like not far from my house. Like
And what's the timestamp or year stamp on it,
it was during the end of the war.
right? So like way before you and me were ever a
Yeah.
thought. Like, yeah,
It's just cool,
that's
man. Like, yeah, I like that shit. Like I like guns
yeah,
and I like history, and it's just like these two things come together
yeah.
perfectly.
And yeah,
And
like that's the only thing is I wish you could there was like somewhere where you could look it up and you have a
yeah.
surplus one that was used, like there was a way of like tracing it back and
Yeah, sometimes you can.
find the yeah. It all depends, but like just the history behind it of
Yeah.
hey, maybe someone served, they came back and they were like they saw some shit and they were like, I never want to fucking do that again. So it went
Yeah.
somewhere, or was it someone that never made it home and someone picked it up and
Yeah,
you can
sometimes you get
find
lucky and someone like wrote their name or carved their name into the wood
yeah,
and you can do that. But like other countries, like I mean, Britain would have been potential one of those ones where like a serial number would have been issued to a person
yeah,
and then you could track the history better.
yeah,
But other countries, they just there was no like the Brits would have been good at just like keeping records, right? So like that's one of the cool things about like if you do the whole like ancestry DNA and do all the thing, right? Even if you don't spit in the tube, you can track
yeah,
records.
way more. Yeah.
And
And
like the British Empire was just really good at doing paperwork, if nothing else, right? So
yeah,
there's records that go back, births, deaths, marriages, military service, especially all of that shit was tracked. So you can go back pretty far with that. And like sometimes, yeah, if you have the right connections, you may be able to find who carried a specific rifle because it was issued to them by this serial number. Other countries, yeah,
yeah,
just like
yeah,
your gun, comrade, go shoot people,
yeah. Right.
right?
We don't have enough guns, so you get a gun and you
Yeah.
hold his ammo, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
we've
We've
all
got enough
seen
ammo to give you all 5 rounds, but only enough guns to give every other man. So like you may have been the one that it was issued to and you didn't make it, and the guy behind you picked it up, and there's no record of that.
yeah, right. Like we've all seen
Yeah.
Enemy at the Gate, right?
Yeah.
And as the problem mentioned here, and he's like, and now some of those rifles are hitting prohibs
Yeah.
and maybe
Yeah. Well,
allegedly set for confiscation and destruction, even though they're non-restricted and
yeah.
allegedly might not be on
Well,
any paperwork. But
if you live in and around the PNE fairgrounds, there's a big hole that used to have guns in it that you could allegedly put some new guns in and bury again.
yeah,
It's like the
but yeah,
time capsule that keeps on giving, right?
but yeah, it's right. Like it is a thing. Like it might be a part of
Yeah.
history that some people might not like, but it has founded us.
That's part of
It
history
has
though.
changed
Fuck them.
lives,
Yeah.
right? Like some people may only have one brother or sister or none due to
Yeah.
them having to carry that and not making it back, and they could have been, lives could have changed and everything. Like the ripple effect, right? Like
Absolutely. Yeah.
everything. Yeah. So yeah, it's just you can't disregard that, in my opinion.
Well, I was having
And
this conversation with the other half the other day. Like we were driving in Toronto,
yeah,
unfortunately.
my
And
condolences.
yeah. So like going past like the CNE, so our fairgrounds, right, which are
Yeah.
also like the national fairgrounds for the country as a whole. the Haida, which is a ship that was there on D-Day, used to be there. Thankfully, they have continued to preserve it, and it's now down in Hamilton, and it's docked at a naval base there, and they keep that up because it's fucking cool. Like this is a ship
Yeah.
that was there on D-Day, right?
Yeah, that's fucking.
But it
I
used to be
next time
there.
I come down, we're taking a drive out there. That
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
to see this. Yeah,
It's cool, man. Like absolutely. Like we will do that for sure. But like not far from there was also another monument that was like a bomber plane on like a pedestal.
yeah,
It's now in Inukshuk. And like I don't want to like crap on the natives or nothing, but like we could have just built another Inukshuk next to it or something if
yeah,
we
hundred
wanted to.
percent.
But this was like a war memorial that got torn down and for no real reason.
Yeah,
And it was cool.
like
Like it was just a big bomber plane that was there.
yeah. And
And
that
like
bomber
it's
plane prevented or allowed you to be able to argue for your
yeah.
thing. So
Well, and like the
I think
crazy thing is like it was almost like right across the street from Fort York, where there is still an actual army building. Like the old historic Fort York that founded Toronto and all that is there.
yeah,
And then right in front of it is an actual, still active Canadian Army base. And
yeah,
like across the street was this bomber plane that is now gone. And then like also opposite like the next street is like a naval base. So like there's a ton of military shit already in the area, including like the Princess Gates that are right there that they still to this day have like a fucking parade, the Warriors parade that passes through those gates at the opening of the CNE
yeah,
as part of a tradition thing. But no, we're not going to have this bomber plane on a stick hang like because that's a thing of war. Like
yeah.
out
Right.
of here.
And I'm not saying I promote you should sit down and watch stuff, but have you heard or seen the series Man in the High Castle?
Yes.
Right, and it's
Yeah,
for
it's a
people that don't,
hypothetical,
Cole's
right?
book,
Like it's
hypothetical. World War
yeah.
II ended. Half of the USA
Yeah.
doesn't know the USA won. They think Germany and Japan won, and I'm just like we're almost getting to that point. Like they took that
Yeah.
B-52 bomber away. Like if that B-52 bomber or the bomber plane is probably not a B-52 in World War II, but like that bomber plane, wasn't there doing something
Yeah.
that fictional story could be a reality.
Could have been the
Yeah, where
reality.
where
Yeah,
where
yeah.
we wouldn't have taken it
Absolutely.
down to put your Nook, whatever you said, a
Yeah.
Nookshuk. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like you may not even be able to build them anymore if the outcome came differently. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
just yeah, we can
I
let's
just
talk
don't get
about
it.
us
Like
destroying stuff.
I don't get it. Like again, like we could have built a different monument to whatever indigenous people in the air, and I don't even think
Hey,
Inukshuks are a people from that area. They're farther north. That like
yeah,
I'm not an
but
expert on any of this, but I think that
no,
like
me neither. But
I think it's a far north indigenous people tradition that other
and
people
like
have
I
also
I'm
done. But
pretty
like,
sure a whole different fucking province too,
yeah,
north. But hey, I mean, let's do some research and let's find some paperwork saying was there a group of or a platoon or a yeah platoon of Inukshuk people that were drafted and sent over there and maybe didn't come back. Like we can't forget them just as much as
no,
we shouldn't forget anything of every those guys. Like
yeah,
let's do more of that than just be like, oh, I'm offended by this because I don't think war is a thing. And I'm like, well, you can disagree with war. I disagree with
yeah,
war, but if
but
it's a
it's a
thing,
thing.
I'm gonna make sure I don't end up on the losing side to the best of my
Yes,
capabilities, right?
yeah.
So
But yes,
yeah, so
I confirmed because I was fairly certain, but as I said, I'm not an expert. But yes, Inukshuks are an Inuit thing.
mhm.
There are no Inuit in and around the Great Lakes. I mean, maybe
No,
there are now that have moved here
yeah,
like
now,
many
but
generations later, but
but
like, yeah.
I'm pretty sure
So
they wouldn't have been offended by that plane
yeah,
being on a stick, since they can still be
yeah,
and still follow their traditions compared to how
yeah,
World War II 1945 could have changed how you and me would not be sitting here having this discussion.
Well, or if we
So
were, it would be in German or maybe
yeah,
Italian or Japanese. But yeah,
yeah,
I don't know. It's
but
crazy.
yeah, it is what it is. But yeah,
Yeah.
I get very frustrated when we start trying to erase history instead of
Yeah,
learning
like good
from
or
history.
bad.
Yeah,
Like you can't like especially the bad.
yeah,
Like we if we erase it, then there's no way to like learn from it,
yeah.
right?
Like
Like
I did stupid shit when I was a teenager, just as much as I'm sure you did. And it's like, well, I don't want to really erase it. I learned from it,
yeah.
and I want to pass that wisdom on to my
Yeah, I
kid
might
when they
like
get to
yeah,
that age,
maybe we
right?
change
Like,
some of the details, right? But
yeah, but
also, yeah,
yeah, but they're
yeah,
probably not going to listen because, like, it's a
yeah,
teenager, right? Like, I know everything, you don't know anything.
yeah,
You're old, you don't know who this band is, you don't know the hip talk. Like,
yeah.
my fucking daughter said something fucking when I picked her up tonight, and I looked back and I'm like, what the fuck did you call them? Like, she's like, oh, it means this, and I was like, it's
Well,
sure, like, yeah,
yeah. Did you see the NDP an Indian lady that's running for the NDP that put out like a TikTok or something, but
no,
she's using like youth slang, and
uh,
she's like, "What up, fam?"
uh,
I'll have to send it.
okay,
It's hilarious, but it's just like I
okay,
was just like half of it. I was like, I have no idea what you're saying. I am too old for this.
yeah.
This makes zero sense to me.
Right. And at that point, like every time I hear someone that is not in the proper age group to say that and say stuff or
Yeah,
whatever, I just think of like Dazed and Confused,
yeah,
where Matthew McConaughey just says like this is the best thing about high school girls. He's like, I keep getting older, but they're the same age.
yeah,
I'm like, and I just feel really uncomfortable. And
yeah,
I'm like, yeah, no, it just gets weird real fast.
yeah. I had no idea what they were saying in that, and but there's just it was hilarious that I get it. They're trying to appeal to the
Yeah.
youth, so
But
like good on them for trying, but the attempt was so like you could tell that it was so fake and
yeah,
forced.
and they were like they were probably trying to get people to teach them how to say it properly and this that like
Oh,
yeah, it's just like yeah.
it was bad. It was really bad. But that just made it even better because
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, on that note, uh Pierre, where can people find you and or the other half and buy some fun t-shirts and all of those things?
Off the wall customizing at Gmail. I think the Tickety Talk is still up. Um, I've shut down all my socialist medias. I think there's still a few going there. Um, we're still trying to figure out how much everything is changing in price due to tariffs because some of the supplies come from the US. But yeah, you can reach out there. We can probably still make stuff happen. We may or may not still have stock on stuff that is not tariff related. Or you can, well, I'm technically on the Discord. I don't do anything on it, but I'm there. And you can find me Sunday nights about on the other Copycat CPP, the Prepper podcast, um, talking about what you can do to be better prepared for the sad news we talk about on Mondays.
Awesome. If you've listened to the show this long, you definitely deserve a discount. So use the code Patriot at checkout. Heading over to Ragnarok Tactical, that's pick up some medical supplies and all those fun things that you might need, some tactical accessories for the rifles that you're not allowed to use.
Hmm.
You can find me personally on Instagram, UrbexGTA. You could see me getting tied up and led into a room with flashing lights and loud music and all of that fun stuff and relive the horror with me. Um, you can also see there if like other people are doing fun courses that I may or may not go to or be helping out with. I usually post it there if I forget to mention it here. But yeah, it'll be a good time. Apologies to Rod. Rod is also still recovering from the election loss. It's affected us all very, 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 very deeply. We're
Yep.
all very sad. But I would also like to remind everybody that you are a small fringe minority with unacceptable views.